Well, hello there. My name is Jenna. This is Books Love Jenna, as in those books, they just love her. And this is my February 2025 TBR. The lighting is weird. It's the nighttime. And I am doing this, and my computer is on in front of me, and it's giving me blue light. Better? Necessary. So we're gonna power through and share the books that I plan to read in the month of February. Now, if you've been around for a while, you will be familiar with my yearly Librarian versus Librarian series. This year I'm gonna do two rounds. I'm gonna do one in the summertime, which is when I traditionally do it. I think I did it in June last year, and in previous years, July or August. This year, I'm also going to do a February round. So we're going to talk about those books first, and then I will dive into the rest of my TBR. So I've got 10 books, 5 from my county library, 5 from my city library. Now, the city library got back to me very quickly. I was able to put in a Better World Books order and get all 5 of them in front of me to share with you now. I haven't read about them yet, so we'll do that together. The county library took forever. Well, first they gave me a bunch of recommendations, all of which I had read before, and so I had to ask again, and then it took them forever to respond to my request for different titles. When they finally did get back to me, I did do an order. Better World Books often ships in multiple shipments because they have multiple warehouses. And so I have 1 of those and the other 4 are still in transit. So we'll talk about all of them. I haven't read about any of them. Some of them are very familiar titles. My criteria for February, and the reason I'm doing it in February, my criteria was I asked for love stories. I specified I wasn't very interested in formulaic romance novels. I can find those on my own. It's not that I don't enjoy them. It's just that I know authors that I like already. I'm kind of picky. I know how to find those. I mean, what I was hoping they would give me were love stories. And epic love stories. I gave them examples of authors that I enjoy and of books that I consider to be love stories that are not romance novels. Some of those examples were Jane Eyre, of course, Forever Amber, Gone with the Wind. Like, I gave a bunch of suggestions of books. A Suitable Boy. I give a bunch of suggestions of books that are definitely books that librarians would be familiar with, so they would know the vibe I was going for. I think, I have to read them first, of course. I may be prejudging. I think both librarians got it completely wrong. So completely wrong. And I have in front of me a bunch of romance novels. There is nothing wrong with romance novels. It's just not what I asked for. I'm a little sad going into this, but at the same time, I'm probably going to enjoy these. It's just not what I asked for. So let's quickly go through these. If I have to guess ahead of time which library is going to win, I think this year it's probably my city library. I think they won last year too. My city library and my county library serve very different communities. They carry very different kinds of books for the most part. I mean, obviously they overlap, but they tend towards very different kinds of books. And yet both libraries gave pretty predictable responses. But there is one on my city library list, which is completely off my radar, feels a little different than the others. And I have a little bit of hope for it being what I asked for. Let's talk first about the county library, because those are all formulaic romances, most of which you have probably heard of. I don't even know that I need to tell you the synopsis of any of them, but I will. I've never read the synopsis for any of them, but I'm so familiar with them that I'm pretty sure I know. So the first one I have for the county library is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I have read 4 Emily Henry books. I have liked 1. I gave 1 5 stars. I gave 3 2 stars. because I don't really give 1 star. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think I need to tell anybody what this is about. I think it's about 2 publishing friends with a past, enemies to lovers or second chance, something, I don't know. The fact that I can just tell you the tropes says to me this is formulaic romance. It is not what I asked for. Will I enjoy it? I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's go ahead and read the synopsis just for funsies. It says, Nora Stevens' life is books. She's read them all. She is not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. She's not like other girls. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent, and her beloved little sister Libby, which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August, when Libby begs her for a sister's trip away with visions of a small-town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine in her own story. But instead of picnics and meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor or bulging four-armed bartender, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lastra, a bookish brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet-cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. We'll see. We'll see. I also have, coming to me but not arrived yet, another one that will be very familiar looking. This is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. Of all the Brown sister novels, but I don't, because everybody's read them, but I don't know which one Get a Life Chloe Brown is. Okay, I was kind of hoping that it was the Building Super one, but it's not. Okay, so Chloe Brown is a chronically ill computer geek. Oh, maybe it is the Super one. Oh, it is the Handyman one. Okay, I was hoping it was this one. Okay, Chloe Brown is a chronically ill computer geek with a goal, a plan, and a list. And after almost but not quite dying, she's come up with the 7 directives to help her get a life, and she's already completed the first. It's not, they're all like bad things to do, or things she thinks are bad things to do. But it's not easy being bad, even when you've written step-by-step guidelines on how to do it correctly. What Chloe needs is a teacher, and she knows just the man for the job. Redford Red Morgan is a handyman with tattoos, a motorcycle. He's also an artist who paints at night and hides his work in the light of day, which Chloe knows because she spies on him occasionally. Just the teeniest, tiniest bit. There's so many things in this synopsis that make me think, oh, that's why I've never read this book. I've skipped so many things. I don't think I'm going to like this book at all, but we'll see. I'm going to give it a read. I've got a used copy of it coming, and we'll see. We'll see. The next one that they recommended is You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. So this one says, leading ladies do not end up on tabloid covers. After a messy public breakup, soap opera darling Jasmine Lynn Rodriguez finds her face splashed across the tabloids. When she returns to her hometown of New York City to film the starring role in a bilingual romantic comedy for the #1 streaming service in the country, Jasmine figures her new leading lady plan should be easy enough to follow, until a casting shakeup pairs her with telenovela hunk Ashton Suarez. Leading ladies don't need a man to be happy. After his last telenovela character was killed off, Ashton is worried his career is dead as well. Joining this new cast as a last-minute addition will give him the chance to show off his acting chops to American audiences and ping the radar of Hollywood casting agents. Okay, so we know where this is going. This feels very predictable, very formulaic. Then we have Sophia Khan is Not Obliged, which I believe is a Jane Austen retelling. It's even on Amazon. It's called Sophia Khan is Not Obliged, a heartwarming romantic comedy. Unlucky in love, once again, after her sort of boyfriend, possible marriage partner-to-be, proves a little too close to his parents, Sophia Khan is ready to renounce men for good, or at least she was, until her boss persuades her to write a tell-all expose about the Muslim dating scene. As her woes become her work, Sophia must lean on the support of her brilliant friends, baffled colleagues, and baffling parents, as she seeks stories for her book. But in among the marriage-crazy relatives, racist train passengers, and polygamy-inclined friends, could there be a lingering possibility that she might just be falling in love? Okay, so that does not sound like a Jane Austen retelling. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. That sounds original. That sounds hopeful. Maybe. We'll see. That sounds hopeful. The next one that is on this list... Oh, the last one that is on this list, The Dating Plan, Sarah Desai, which is book 2 in a series. Interesting choice, library. Interesting choice. The Marriage Game would have been the first one. This is the dating plan, the singles table. It probably is fine. Daisy Patel is a software engineer who understands lists and logic better than bosses and boyfriends. With her life all planned out and no interest in love, the one thing she can't give her family is the marriage they all expect. Left with few options, she asks her childhood crush to be her decoy fiance. Leo Murphy is a venture capitalist with something to prove. So it sounds like this librarian thought I was asking for romance novels where the woman doesn't want to fall in love. Like, that seems to be the theme of all of these. Like, there's some aspect of that in all of the titles that I don't think they understand. I don't think she understood what a love story, not a romance novel, means, which is fascinating to me. It's fascinating. I may have to make my own list. So anyway, those are the 5 contenders from my county library. The 5 contenders from my, I'll just close this for a minute. The 5 contenders from my city library, I have copies of all of them. So the first one is definitely a Emma retelling. This is, because it says so in big letters right on the back. This is Camilla Knows Best by Farah Heron. And this is, I mean, let's see. It says at the very top, it says Jane Austen, Emma Goes Bollywood. So Camilla Hussein's life might not be perfect, but whew, it's close. She lives a life of comfort filled with her elaborate Bollywood movie parties, a dog with more Instagram followers than most reality stars, a job she loves, and an endless array of friends who clearly need her help finding love. In fact, Camilla is so busy with her friends' love lives, she's hardly given any thought to her own. This sounds like a direct retelling, Bollywood style. Have you ever watched Bride and Prejudice? That's a fun direct retelling of Pride and Prejudice, and it is a Bollywood movie. This I will probably enjoy. I don't think it's what I asked for, but I will probably enjoy it. This one looks like exactly what I told them I did not want. It looks exactly like what I told them I did not want. And this is Mad About You by Mahari McFarlane. I don't know how to say that name. Sorry about that. And this says, Harriet Hatley is the most in-demand wedding photographer in town, but she doesn't believe in romance, loathes the idea of marriage, and thinks chocolate fountains are an abomination. Again, I have just told you the first 2 books for this request from my city library, and both of them are about heroines that aren't interested in love. I think they misunderstood my request. When her longtime partner proposes, she panics. Suddenly she's single. She's living down the hall from her ex. She needs a new apartment. Enter Cal Clark, a hopeless romantic who just experienced his own wedding-related disaster. I think they're going to become roommates. They're going to fall in love. Then we have this one, which I've seen everywhere. Everybody has tried to read this book or read this book. This is Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan. This says, Nora Hamilton knows the formula for love better than anyone. As a Romance Channel screenwriter, it's her job. But then her too-good-to-work husband leaves her and their 2 kids, and Nora turns her marriage's collapse into cash, writing the best script of her life. When the script is picked up for the big screen and set to film at her 100-year-old home with former sexiest man alive, Leo Vance, cast as her ex-husband, Nora's life will never be the same. This one, let's see, which one do I want to talk about first? I think I'll go for this one first. I've heard, this, by the way, is a Better World Books book, but it is brand new. Nobody has ever read this book. It is in absolutely pristine condition. Love it when that happens. It's rare, but it does happen. So this is a love song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. I never read anything. I didn't read the 7 Days in June or whatever it is. Yeah, 7 Days in June. Have seen everybody and their brother reading these books. This one, I don't know what it's about, says, Ricky Wilde has many talents, but being a Wilde isn't one of them. As the impulsive, artistic daughter of a powerful Atlanta dynasty, she's the opposite of her famous socialite sisters. Where they are long-stemmed roses, she's a dandelion, an adorable bloom that's actually a weed, born to float wherever the wind blows. In her bones, Ricky knows that somewhere a different, more exciting life awaits her. When a regal non-agenarian, Ms. Della, invites her to rent the bottom floor of her Harlem brownstone, Ricky jumps at the chance for a fresh beginning. She leaves behind her family, wealth, and chaotic romantic decisions to realize her dream of opening a flower shop in New York City. And just beneath the surface of her new neighborhood, the music, stories, and dazzling drama of the Harlem Renaissance still simmer. One evening, this is sounding very promising. One evening in February, as the heady, curiously off-season scent of night-blooming jasmine fills the air, Ricky encounters a handsome, deeply mysterious stranger who knocks her world off balance in the most unexpected way. Set against the backdrop of contemporary Harlem and 1920s decadence, is this a time slip novel? I didn't know this is not what I thought it was. A Love Song for Ricky Wilde is a modern fairy tale of two passionate artists drawn to the magic and romance of New York and whose lives are irreversibly linked. Well, that sounds very hopeful. This is the closest thing I have seen so far to what I asked for. This is very hopeful. It's also very frustrating because if they knew that this is what I wanted, why the other three? Or maybe the other three are not what they seem. We will find out. This is why I do librarian versus librarian. And this one looks the most promising, but I don't know what it's about. This is J.C. Cervantes's The Enchanted Hacienda. It says, when Harlow Estrada is abruptly fired from her dream job and her boyfriend proves to be a jerk, her world turns upside down. She flees New York City to the one place she can always call home, the enchanted Hacienda Estrada. The Estrada family farm in Mexico houses an abundance of charmed flowers, more flowers, cultivated by Harlow's mother, sisters, aunt, and cousins. By harnessing the magic, more magic. By harnessing the magic in these flowers, they can heal hearts, erase memories, interpret dreams, but not Harlow. So when her mother and aunt give her a special task involving the family's magic, she panics. How can she rise to the occasion when she is magicless? But maybe it's not magic she's missing, but belief in herself. When she finally embraces her unique gifts and opens her heart to a handsome stranger, she discovers she's far more powerful than she imagined. Ooh, this sounds like what I asked for. Okay, so I have two hopefuls, both from my city library. The reason why I thought my city might be the winner was because of the way this one looks. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Romance novels read very quickly for me, and it does feel like most of those are romance novels, so I'm sure I'll get through them quickly. Now for books that I myself have chosen for myself. So first of all, I'm not going to say anything about these because I'll do a dedicated video that'll come out next week, 1 week from today, actually, and because they are the Books Love Everybody Book Club picks. Currently in January, when I'm filming this, we are in the middle of reading Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte and Praying with Jane Eyre by Rebecca Zoltan, and both of those are great. It's really interesting to see people's reactions. I have a couple of people in the group who are reading Jane Eyre for the first time, which is really fun, and I have a couple of people who have really had a very strong negative reaction to Praying with Jane Eyre, which is super interesting to navigate with them. So I am loving January's book club picks so far, just because they're creating excitement and interest and conversation. It's been super fun. So in February, feel free to join us, even if you didn't join us in January. You can join us to read Madeline L'Engle's The Love Letters, and also Miriam Sears' Letters of a Portuguese Nun. And if you want to know more about these books, again, there will be a video 1 week from today, which talks specifically about those two picks. Then I just finished, in January, the second book in this trilogy. At least I think it's going to be a trilogy. Maybe there'll be a fourth book, but I don't think so based on the titles. So first I read Tidelands by Philippa Gregory back in, I think, November. And then I read this month, January, I read Dark Water. I just finished it, and it could be one of my favorite reads of the year. It could be my favorite read of the year. Right now, if I had to pick in January, having read just the 12 or 13 books I've read so far, it would be my favorite. It was so good. It was so good. So I am reading the final one, which is Dawn Lands. This is another one that I got from Better World Books. You can see that it is a former library book, but look, it's in absolutely pristine, perfect condition, and that makes me so happy because I love this series so much. Dark Tides, not Dark Water. Sorry, it's written here. Dark Tides. So this one, I don't know if I can tell you what it's about. I don't know if I should read what it's about. I cannot tell you what it's about because it is about the same, it's about the same characters, and I just read something that makes me very excited to read this. One of the characters, who's quite awful in the second book, worms her way into the court of Queen Mary. I'm very excited to find out how and why. I love this series. This is my favorite series by Philippa Gregory so far. Love it. Love it. I can't tell you anything about it though. I am going to continue on with reading Witch Hat Atelier. In January, I'm reading book 5. In February, I will read book 6. If you are not familiar with this delightful manga series, you should become familiar with that delightful manga series. I'm going to continue on reading a Madeleine L'Engle each month. In January, I read a nonfiction, the first book in her Crosswicks Quartet. In February, I'm gonna read the first book in her Time Quintet. And that is, of course, A Wrinkle in Time. It's been a while since I've read A Wrinkle in Time. I love it. I used to teach it when I taught 7th graders. I really, really enjoy this book. I loved all the talk of light bearers and all of those things. So I am looking forward to revisiting this. I don't think I need to tell you what it's about. I, in January, read my very first Inspector Gamache. I read the first book in the Inspector Gamache series, and I really enjoyed it. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. The last time, I'm not big on mysteries that focus on a detective, but I loved Miss Marple, and I was kind of hoping to find another series like that, and I really think that I have, as far as like how I feel about it. They're very different, but I loved Still Life, and so I'm going to read the next one, and that is A Fatal Grace. I'm getting them all from Better World Books. So my first, they don't match. So my Still Life is a small little trade paperback, and this one is a nice big floppy one. I prefer these. I hope as they come, more of them come like that. A Fatal Grace. This one says, no one liked Cece de Poitiers. Not her family, not her lover, not her neighbors in Three Pines. Poor Cece. Still, when Chief Inspector Armand Gamache is called to investigate Cece's sudden death on the day after Christmas, it seems like an impossible murder. How could she have been electrocuted in the midst of a curling match in Three Pines and without anyone seeing a thing? A Quebec winter is not only beautiful but deadly, as Gamache digs for dangerous secrets beneath the surface of village life, while something even more chilling is coming for Gamache himself. I just loved the way Louise Penny wrote the first book. I'm very excited to read the next one there. I am also continuing on in the Zion Covenant series from my childhood, from my youth. I used to read these. I never finished them. And you know, when you're a kid and you're like short on cash and you're like, I'm going to get all of these books when I'm an adult. Well, here I am. So I read the first one in the series. I'm in the middle of it right now. It's not going to tell me what it's called. That's okay. I'm in the middle of the first one right now. There's no audio for these. I have to read them. So I'm reading it a little bit before I go to sleep each night. And it's taken me back to my teenage years. B, it's really, really rich writing. And C, it's harrowing. It's maybe not the best thing to read right before going to sleep, but I'm really, really loving it. So I'm going to pick up the next one, and that is Prague Counterpoint. And I don't remember much about this one, but I have guesses of where it's going based on where I'm at in the first one. I'm excited to say that I read the first one in this 4-book series, retellings of Jane Austen's works, and loved the first one. Pride and Prejudice and Other Flavors. Really, really loved it. So I'm going to read Recipe for Persuasion next by Sonali Dev. This one obviously is a retelling of Persuasion. A lot of it is covered by the former library sticker, but needs to save a restaurant when she's asked to join the cast of Cooking with the Stars, the latest hit reality show teams chefs with celebrities. It seems like just the leap of faith she needs to put her restaurant back on the map. She's a chef. What's the worst that could happen? Rico Silva, That's What. Being paired with a celebrity who was her first love only proves that Ashna has, it's Ashna's story, that Ashna has always believed leaps of faith are a recipe for disaster. World Cup winning soccer star Rico Silva isn't too happy to be paired up with Ashna either. Losing Ashna years ago was complicated. The only silver lining to this bizarre situation was that he can finally prove to himself that he's over her. But when their catastrophic first meetup goes viral, social media becomes obsessed with their chemistry. I'm going to stop reading. I loved the way that this family was given to us. I loved the way that it is very unique in its storytelling. It is not a direct retelling of Pride and Prejudice. It just takes kind of the main components and builds something very stable, very new, very entertaining, very heartwarming, very heavy, like substantial. Like I really, really loved it. You'll hear a lot about it in my wrap up. I am looking forward to reading the next in that series. I haven't yet got to this one. I bought the next one in faith because I do think I'm gonna love it. So I haven't quite got to my first book in this series yet, which I am going to read in January, but I do have the second book in the series, which is Birds of a Feather. This is the Maisie Dobbs series. Again, I haven't read the first one yet, but I do think I'm gonna love it. I'm also continuing on with my reading a Catherine Center every month. I think this is one of the greatest ideas I've ever had in my entire life. So this month I'm going to read Things You Save in a Fire. I don't know what this one is about. I've never read this one. So it says, Cassie Hanwell was born to handle emergencies. As one of the only female firefighters in her Texas firehouse, she's seen her fair share of them, and she's a total pro at managing other people's tragedies. But when her estranged and ailing mother asks her to give up her whole life and move to Boston, Cassie suddenly has an emergency of her own. The tough, old-school Boston firehouse is as different from Cassie's old job as it could possibly be. Hazing, a lack of funding, and poor facilities mean that the firemen aren't exactly thrilled to have a lady on the crew, even one as competent and smart as Cassie, except for the infatuation-inspiring rookie who doesn't seem to mind having Cassie around. But she can't think about that because love is girly and it's not her thing. And don't forget the advice her old captain gave her, never date firefighters. Cassie can feel her resolve slipping, and it means risking it all, the only job she's ever loved and the hero she's worked like hell to become. So I read How to Walk Away in January. You'll hear a lot about that one too in my wrap up. Looking forward to reading this one for the first time. I am going to read a nonfiction about romance. I'm going to read Doomed Romance. This is historical true crime. It says, a lost episode rediscovered after almost 200 years. A thwarted love triangle of heartbreak, shattered promises, yearning, and jealousy that reads like a Hawthorne novel, but is a true story set between America's Revolution and its Civil War, revealing an age in subtle and powerful transformation caught between the fight for women's rights and the campaign waged by evangelical Protestants to dominate the nation's culture and politics. At its center, two men and a woman of equal ambition, each intent on following their dreams. A dour New England schoolmaster studying for the ministry, a charming 29-year-old graduate of Yale, training to become a missionary, about to set forth from America to spread the word from a mission based in Palestine. And the third of the triangle, a young woman, Martha Parker, 21, smart, full of large ambitions to go off beyond home and expected duties, and to become a missionary, have adventures, and teach Christian values. But something happened among the three, something that resulted in hurt feelings, anger, reprisals, and secret denunciations that upended all three lives, setting in motion a full-scale investigation into the truth of anonymous claims about Martha Parker's character, which produced secret transcripts, collected letters, diaries, depositions, and first-hand witness accounts. The scandal extended outward far beyond their immediate circle and into the heart of the Protestant evangelical movement, touching on ideas of womanhood, manhood, and threatening not only to derail a crucial movement in America, but possibly to end missionary work throughout the world. In Doomed Romance, Christian Heyerman masterfully charts this rich, fraught tale that called into question the very foundations of the Protestant evangelical missionary dream. Sounds fascinating. So looking forward to that. Let me go on my computer again. Let's see, because there are some books that I don't have copies of. Let's see. Okay, so for my 12 in 12 challenge, I asked my friends over on Facebook to recommend 12 books to me. My friend Luann recommended By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. And so I think this has to do with Shakespeare in some way. So I'm excited to read that one. I am going to read for Book Mama's book club. The prompt is traveling book. And so I'm going to read The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Haro. And I do believe that is the buddy read for that month. I have 2 pre-orders coming in this month. One is the Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. Sasha Payton Smith wrote the Witch Haven duology that I read last year and just really, really, really loved. And so I'm excited about this new one by her. I think this one is a Marie Antoinette Versailles kind of thing, like a French setting maybe, maybe a fairy tale. I don't know, but I'll read anything she writes at this point. I also have Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivy. I don't know if I said Eowyn right, but I think I did. I hope I did. Eowyn Ivy wrote The Snow Child. I actually have this. I just received an ARC on my Kindle for this. So I may start it before the pre-order arrives. And then I have 2 books that I would like to read that I don't own copies of, that I'm going to just get audio for, or I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have audio for this one already. I am going to read A Court of Wings and Ruin if I get to A Court of Mist and Fury in January. If I don't, then I'll read A Court of Mist and Fury in February. And then I haven't read the first book, even though I have it on my January TBR. I just haven't gotten to it yet. When the Day Comes by Gabrielle Meyer. I am set to read the second book in this moment in February. But if I don't get to the first book, I'll read the first book, which I do have a physical copy of right now. And that's it. That's a lot of books. They all sound so good, and I want to read them all. I want to read all the books that exist in the world, and I want to read them in February, apparently. I will be checking in throughout the month with a dedicated librarian versus librarian wrap-up video. Hi, Lola. And I will see you throughout the month. I'll see you next week, actually, to tell you more about our book club reads. So until then, I will see you later. Let's go read.